We have a lot of kids who have problems because of their parents' wealth, and we have a lot of kids who have problems because their parents are working class community here. If you go on and Google Aspen, you will find out that it per capita is the #1 suicide city in our country. I think it's time that we helped kids address this situation, feel safe, not judged, and an opportunity to see how they can change their life.
It gets a little hard to keep going in a place like this, but at the same time, like, we live in a beautiful, beautiful environment. I don't think there's anything like this valley in Colorado, let alone this country. You're either one of a few billionaires' kids, or you're the kids of the people who clean their houses and you go to the same school.
At the when I was 18 years old, I made some really bad decisions, and I was about to make one that was gonna probably get me in a lot of trouble for many, many years. And I decided, I went to Jackie's house and for a place to stay that night, and I ended up not doing what I was gonna do, which was gonna end up put me in a really bad situation, and I would have been locked up for a really long time.
For me, inviting these kids into my home just seemed second nature. You know, I didn't question it. If you need a place to stay, I want you to have a safe place to stay. You're always welcome in my home. And that's why I did the Host Home Project, because now we have alternate families, and we try to make sure that it's the right fit for the right kid, for the right situation.
But when I met Jackie, she introduced me to this concept that kids were doing something called couch surfing. Basically, like, if they had disagreements or issues with their parents, they would just go and flock to another friend's house and stay there, maybe for weeks or even a month at a time, just switching couches and never going home and never facing the issues or dealing with the problems and the conflict that they were maybe having with their parents.
And Callie's Host Homes is 6 houses we have in Aspen that are volunteer parents. We are all certified, licensed. This is a project where kids can stay 1 to 10 days, whether they're fighting with the police or they're fighting with their parents. We know that the police can't send kids home because then something will just escalate.
There's been situations where me or my friends can't stay at our homes, and it's really unfortunate the way that this town is set up, because you can't find a house to stay at for more than 2 days before getting kicked out. And there's been so many situations where I've needed support, or I've tried to give support to somebody for as long as I can, and it's not possible in this valley.
You know, my relationship with my mom would just hear of all this trouble, and she didn't know how to help me, you know? So I think that maybe with Callie's Backyard, I think that kids will really have a chance. They'll be able to save a few lives, you know, save a lot of kids from, you know, some of the pain that I went through. I'm talking like I slept in alleys in Aspen as a kid sometimes.
In my experience here at Crossroads, I have met many, many students, from rich families to poor families to great home environment to maybe not such great home environment. I've dealt with families going through divorces, children asking their questions. Through those times, it gets confusing. And so there's really not like an atypical, like, all these check boxes have to be met for a child to qualify for Host Homes.
It's free for everyone. It's free for the host home parents. It's free for the kids. And instead of driving our kids 128 miles down to Grand Junction, and I'd like to take a poll and ask how many people know that that's where our kids in Aspen go if they get into any trouble, criminal or not. So we, as a community, I feel need to offer them a quiet, safe space to be, and then they can figure out what their options are. We have resources for them. There's lots of resources in our community. We have Mind Springs as a partner, we have therapists, we have case managers. It's something that no one has ever done. It's unprecedented in the state of Colorado, and it's probably unprecedented in the United States.
When we think about like what kind of a student would need a host home, what kind of student might need to be pulled out of their family environment, we are not talking about like physical abuse. We're not talking about like everything that you would think has to radically happen. We could just have a student who's confused, a child who is confused and making choices that put stress on the parent-child relationship. and maybe the parents aren't equipped to handle it, that is a child that could be benefited by host homes. Maybe they went to a party and they did drink and maybe they did do drugs. Then maybe the host homes environment could give a cool-off period for the parents and the child, and can also get social services and counseling to the child and to the parents to help them understand how to navigate these waters.
At the end of the day, what people in these situations need to do is have an environmental switch. Just because although you might be having like good grades or you have a beautiful front face, when you go home and you're alone, that is truly the time where you are in your own headspace and you get to relax in your own mindset. And if you can't do that, it causes so much stress and so much tension. And through Jackie's Homes, you get that environmental switch and you get a peaceful state of mind when it comes to parental supervision and having a roof over your head and a bed to use.
Just having a safe place to go, like somebody that just could open. I mean, I was just a little kid lost, you know, and she didn't have to do that. Like, you know, she probably knew I was full of it and just opened her doors to me to keep me safe that night.
It gives kids an incentive to want to keep going and to do good things in this world, because they know that someone cares about them and that someone is willing to do something out of their pocket, out of their own mind for you.
Host Homes is an extension of love. It's an extension of love without judgment. It's an extension of love that says we want to support you, both the parent and the child, so that they can have the bright future that they're supposed to.
It is honestly one of the most humble things that this valley deserves and needs. And, you know, I couldn't be more thankful for it myself, even though I'm turning 18, because I have that peace of mind, knowing that there won't be any kids that need to sleep at bus stops or need to steal food from the grocery store. And I hope that we can see a day where that's not even a problem.
And I'm just so grateful for Jackie Long for putting this thing together. I think it's going to touch a lot of lives and it's going to save a lot of people.